The massive council station hung in space like a crystal flower. 12 different alien species had built it together over thousands of years. Each section showed the unique style of its builders. The Violeth had grown their part from living crystal that glowed with soft blue light. The Korthani section flickered with pure energy that danced through transparent walls. The Zephyrite area buzzed with the constant movement of millions of insect-like beings. Ambassador Sarah Chen pressed her face to the small window of the human transport ship. She had dreamed of this moment her whole life. Humanity was finally joining the Galactic Council. After centuries of being alone in the universe, they had found others. Not just one or two species, but 12 advanced civilizations that had been working together for ages. Amazing, isn't it? Said Dr. Marcus Webb, floating beside her in the zero gravity. He was the head of human science and technology. His gray beard made him look wise, but his eyes sparkled with excitement like a child's. I can't believe we made it this far, Sarah replied. 5 years ago we barely had space travel. Now we're here with faster-than-light ships. The human breakthrough had surprised everyone, including humans themselves. Dr. Webb's team had been trying to solve Earth's energy crisis when they accidentally discovered how to bend space and time. Within months, humans had built ships that could travel between stars. The discovery had changed everything. The Council had noticed immediately. 12 species that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years suddenly saw a new player. At first, they had been curious, then worried. Finally, they had decided to invite humanity to join rather than risk them becoming a threat. The transport ship docked with a soft thud. Sarah straightened her blue diplomatic uniform and checked her translation. Device one more time. The Council had given humanity the basic language technology, but she still felt nervous about talking to beings who might be older than human civilization. The airlock opened with a hiss. 3 Council representatives waited on the other side. Sarah tried not to stare, but it was hard. The first was Counselor Zixthera of the Valeth. She looked like a walking diamond with crystal skin that shifted colors as she moved. Her voice came from somewhere inside her body and sounded like wind chimes. "Welcome, humans," she said. Her tone was polite but cold. "We trust your journey was acceptable." The second representative was harder to look at directly. Counselor Veltar of the Korthani was made of pure energy held in a roughly humanoid shape. When he spoke, lights flickered inside his form. "Your arrival is noted," he said. The translation made his voice sound bored. The third representative looked more normal, if you could call a 7-foot-tall insect normal. Queen Mind Hixara of the Zephyrite spoke for billions of her kind. Her large compound eyes studied the humans carefully. "The collective acknowledges the human presence," she said. "Your individual nature is unusual." Sarah stepped forward and bowed slightly. "Thank you for accepting us into the Council. Humanity is honored to join such an ancient and wise organization." Zixthera's crystal skin flashed briefly. "Ancient, yes. As for wisdom, that remains to be seen. Come, the full Council waits." They floated through corridors that defied human understanding. Gravity seemed optional. Walls curved in directions that hurt to think about. Other alien beings moved past, them some walking, some flying, others existing in ways Sarah couldn't describe. The Council chamber was enormous, 12 seats arranged in a circle, each designed for a different type of being. Some seats were made of crystal, others of metal, and a few seemed to be made of solid light. Most were occupied. Sarah looked around the circle. Here was the collective wisdom of the galaxy. The Nexari, tall and thin with silver skin that gleamed like metal. The Solari, whose bodies seemed to be made of living starlight. The Morden, massive creatures that looked like walking mountains. Species that had mastered space travel when humans were still learning to make fire. "Humans," announced Zixthera as she took her crystal seat. "You have requested membership in our council. This is not a decision we make lightly." A new voice spoke. Sarah turned to see Counselor Kethvar of the Nexari. His silver face showed no expression. "Your species is very young," he said. "You have Had space travel for what, a few years? We have been traveling between stars for 50,000 of your years. Your technology is impressive, admitted Veltar of the Korthani. But technology alone does not make a civilization ready for galactic responsibility. Queen Mind Hixara's wings buzzed softly. Your individual thinking creates chaos. You cannot agree among yourselves. How can you contribute to galactic order? Sarah felt her heart sink. This wasn't going as she had hoped. Counselors, humanity, knows we are young, but we learn quickly. We want to help make the galaxy a better place. Help? Zixthera's crystal form flashed with what might have been amusement. Young human, you misunderstand your position. You are not here to help us. We are here to help you. The counselor activated a holographic display. It showed a map of the galaxy, with different colored regions. These are council territories, she explained. Each species manages certain areas based on their abilities and experience. The Violith handle diplomatic issues. The Korthani manage energy systems. The Zephyrite coordinate logistics. She pointed to several gray areas on the edge of the map. These are unassigned regions, dangerous areas where more advanced species should not risk themselves. Perfect for a species still learning its place. Dr. Webb spoke up for the first time. What kind of dangers? Asteroid mining and radiation. Fields, said Kethvar. Waste disposal near unstable stars. Maintenance of monitoring stations in hostile space. Simple work, but necessary. Sarah realized what was happening. Humanity wasn't joining as an equal partner. They were being given the jobs nobody else wanted. We also have conditions, continued Zixthera. All human technology must be submitted for council review. No expansion beyond assigned territories without permission. No research into restricted fields of study. Restricted fields? Asked Dr. Webb. Quantum mechanics beyond basic levels. Consciousness studies, time manipulation, ancient technologies. Such knowledge could be dangerous in inexperienced hands. Sarah looked around the circle of alien faces. Some seemed sympathetic, but most looked like parents explaining rules to children. We understand, she said finally. When do we start? Immediately, said Veltar. Transport ships are already prepared to take your people to the mining stations. The work is simple but important. As they left the council chamber, Dr. Webb walked beside Sarah in silence. Finally, he spoke quietly. They're treating us like servants. I know, Sarah replied. But we're here. We're part of something bigger now. Maybe we can prove ourselves. Maybe, Webb said. Or maybe we can find our own way. Sarah looked at him sharply, but he was already studying the alien technology around them with curious eyes. Outside the station, human transport ships were already arriving. Thousands of human volunteers ready to take on whatever jobs the galaxy had for them. They didn't know they were being sent to the most dangerous places in space. They just knew they were finally among the stars. In the council chamber, the alien representatives were already moving on to other business. The human problem was solved. They had been given appropriate work and proper restrictions. Everything was under control. None of them noticed Dr. Webb's small recording device, quietly documenting the advanced technologies they passed. None of them thought to ask why humans had developed faster-than-light travel so quickly. None of them wondered what other surprises this young species might have. They would learn soon enough. 3 years had passed since humanity joined the Galactic Council. In the Grand Council chamber, Counselor Zixthera was giving her regular report to the assembled representatives. The Human Integration Project continues to exceed expectations, she announced. Her crystal form glowed with satisfaction. They have taken over 90% of hazardous duty assignments across 7 sectors. The other council members nodded approvingly. Queen Mind Hixara spoke for her collective. Mining productivity in the Kepler radiation fields has increased by 300% since human crews took over. They work in conditions that would kill our people within hours. The waste disposal operations near the burning stars are now fully automated, added Counselor Kethvar of the Nexari. Human teams have established permanent stations there. We no longer need to risk our valuable personnel. Veltar of the Korthani flickered with what might have been pleasure. Most impressive is their work in the Dead Nebula. 3 previous expeditions by advanced species ended in complete loss. The humans not only survived but have mapped the entire region. The assembled council members buzzed with appreciation. They had solved multiple problems at once. The galaxy's most dangerous jobs were being handled efficiently, and the troublesome humans were safely contained in remote regions where they couldn't interfere with important galactic affairs. "Any concerning developments?" asked Counselor Morgan, of the massive Morden species. "Minor issues only," Zixthera replied. "Some human settlements have exceeded their assigned population limits. They reproduce quickly and adapt to new environments faster than predicted. Nothing we cannot manage." "What about their technology requests?" asked a new voice. Counselor Tethnus of the Solari rarely spoke, but when he did, others listened. "Constantly denied, as planned," Zixthara said. "They keep asking for access to quantum research archives and consciousness transfer technologies, obviously inappropriate for such a primitive species." Far from the council chamber, in the depths of the Kepler radiation field, Dr. Marcus Webb was having a very different conversation. "Show me the readings again, Janet," he said to Dr. Janet Rodriguez, his lead researcher. Dr. Rodriguez pulled up the holographic display in their makeshift laboratory. The walls around them were lined with strange metallic panels that gleamed with an inner light. "The radiation levels here should kill any biological life within minutes," she said. "But look at our biosuits." Webb examined the readings. The suits showed no degradation after 3 years of constant exposure. "The living metal we developed is actually getting stronger. Not just stronger, it's evolving, learning. The material is somehow adapting to each new type of radiation we encounter." Webb nodded thoughtfully. When the Council had first sent humans to the radiation fields, they had expected massive casualties. Instead, human scientists had developed biosuits using principles they discovered by accident while trying to survive. The suits used a form of programmable matter that could reshape itself at the molecular level. "What about the consciousness transfer project?" Webb asked. Dr. Rodriguez's eyes lit up. "That's the really exciting part. When Johnson's team got caught in that solar flare last month, they should have died. Instead, the emergency transfer protocol worked perfectly. His consciousness rode the quantum wave back to the station while his body recovered." Webb smiled grimly. The Council thought they had restricted human research. They didn't realize that sending humans to the most dangerous places in the galaxy was actually accelerating human technological development. Every day brought new challenges that required new solutions. "Any word from the deep space teams?" he asked. "Chen's group found something interesting in the dark sector," Rodriguez replied. "Some kind of ancient structure. They're investigating, but they won't talk about it over normal communication channels." Webb understood. Human teams had learned to be careful about what they reported to the Council. Too much success and they might face even more restrictions. A communication alert chimed. Webb activated the display to see Ambassador Sarah Chen calling from the Council station. "Marcus, we have a problem," she said without preamble. "The Council is getting nervous about human expansion. They want to implement new monitoring protocols." "What kind of monitoring?" "Council observers on every human station, real-time reporting of all research activities. And they want to relocate 3 of our largest settlements to more isolated regions." Webb felt anger building in his chest. 3 years of following Council rules, taking the jobs nobody else wanted, and they still didn't trust humanity. "What, did you tell them?" "That I'd discuss it with our leadership and give them an answer. Marcus, they're treating us like children who can't be trusted with scissors. Maybe it's time they learned what we can really do," Webb said quietly. Sarah looked worried. "Marcus, don't do anything foolish. We're walking a thin line here." After the call ended, Webb stared out at the radiation storms swirling around their station. In the distance, he could see human mining ships working in conditions that would destroy any Council vessel. The crews were protected by technology the Council didn't know existed. "Dr. Webb?" Rodriguez was watching him carefully. "What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking that maybe it's time for a demonstration," he replied. "The Council sees us as primitive because we let them. They think they're using us, but really we're learning from them. Every restriction they place on us makes us find new ways around the problem. He activated his personal communication device and sent a coded message to human teams across the galaxy. The message was simple: begin Phase 2. On mining stations throughout dangerous space, human scientists opened sealed containers they had been saving for this moment. Inside were examples of their real achievements: gravity manipulation tools that could move asteroids like toys, quantum processors that could think faster than any council computer, matter conversion systems that could turn radiation itself into useful energy. The council had been so busy congratulating themselves on controlling humanity that they hadn't noticed what humans had actually been doing. Every dangerous assignment had taught them something new. Every restriction had forced them to find creative solutions. Every limitation had made them stronger. In the dead nebula, Captain Lisa Park read Dr. Webb's message and smiled. Her team had been mapping the nebula for 6 months officially. Unofficially, they had discovered the ruins of an ancient civilization that predated the Council by millions of years. The technology they found there was beyond anything the current galaxy had ever seen. "Captain," called her science officer, "we're detecting another structure. This one's different. It's active." Park moved to the sensor station. The readings showed a massive construct hidden deep in the nebula's heart. As they watched, it began to emit signals and patterns that seemed almost like language. "Can we communicate with it?" she asked. "Maybe, but we'd need quantum consciousness interface technology to make contact safely." Park grinned. "Good thing we brought some." Back on the council station, Counselor Zixathara was reviewing reports from human territories. Everything seemed normal. Mining quotas met. Waste disposal on schedule. No concerning developments. She filed the reports and moved on to more important matters. The council had a busy schedule discussing trade agreements between advanced species. The humans could continue their simple work while their betters handled galactic civilization. None of the council members noticed the subtle changes in human communications patterns. None of them detected the quantum signatures that indicated much more advanced technology than humans were supposed to possess. None of them realized that their controllable new species had been quietly becoming the most technologically advanced civilization in the galaxy. That mistake would soon cost them everything. In his laboratory, Dr. Webb looked at the responses, coming in from human teams across the galaxy. Every group reported the same thing. They were ready. Ready to show the Council what humanity had really achieved during 3 years of exile in the galaxy's most dangerous places. "Phase 2 is go," he said to Dr. Rodriguez. "Time to see how the Council reacts when they realize they've been underestimating us." The emergency alert screamed through the Council chamber like nothing heard in 1,000 years. Counselor Veltar of the Korthani materialized in the center of the room, his energy form flickering with panic and pain. "The core worlds are under attack," he gasped, his voice breaking through the translation system. "Ancient machines. They came from nowhere. Our people are dying." Zixthara rose from her crystal seat, alarm flashing through her translucent body. "Explain. What machines?" "Defense systems," Veltar replied, his form growing dimmer. "From the old empire, the builders. We thought they were all dead, their technology lost. But something woke them up in the Korthani home system." The other council members moved closer. Even they had heard stories of the builders, the mysterious civilization that had ruled the galaxy millions of years ago. They had vanished suddenly, leaving behind only ruins and legends. "How many ships do you have left?" asked Queen Mind Hixara. "Less than 30% of our fleet. The machines, they don't just destroy our vessels, they convert them, turn our own technology against us. Our energy-based systems are particularly vulnerable." Counselor Kethvar of the Nexari activated his analysis protocols. "We need more information. What do the machines look like? How do they operate?" "We've sent you all our data," Veltar said, weakly. "But our greatest minds can't understand their technology. It's like nothing we've ever seen." For the next 6 hours, the Council's best scientists studied the Korthani data. The Valith used their crystal-based computational networks. The Nexari applied their advanced analytical systems. The Solari employed quantum state processing beyond normal understanding. All of them reached the same conclusion. The ancient machines were beyond their ability to stop. "We need a new approach," Zixathera finally admitted. "These systems are designed to counter all known Council technologies." "What about the humans?" suggested Councillor Tethnis of the Solari. A moment of silence filled the chamber. Several Council members made sounds that the translation system rendered as uncomfortable laughter. "The humans?" Kethvar asked. "What could they possibly do that our advanced civilizations cannot?" "They work in dangerous environments," Tethnis continued calmly. "They might be able to get close enough to gather more data before the machines destroy them." "Ah," said Zixthera, understanding. "Expendable scouts. Yes, that could work. We could send them to collect information while we develop a real solution." Veltar's energy form flickered with desperate hope. "Anything, please. My people have hours, maybe days left." Ambassador Sarah Chen received the emergency summons while reviewing supply reports in her small office. The Council never called humans for urgent meetings. She arrived at the chamber to find all 12 species present, something that had only happened 3 times in galactic history. "Ambassador Chen," Zixthera began without ceremony. "We have a crisis that requires human assistance." Sarah listened as they explained the situation. Ancient machines attacking the Korthani, technology beyond Council understanding, millions of energy beings facing extinction. "What do you need from us?" she asked. "Reconnaissance," Kethvar replied. "We need someone to get close to these machines and gather detailed information. The work is extremely dangerous. No Council species can be risked." Sarah felt a familiar anger. Once again, humans were being asked to do the job too dangerous for valuable species. But this time was different. This time people were dying. "I'll need to contact our scientists," she said, "and we'll require full access to your data on the ancient builders." "Impossible," Zixthera said immediately. "That information is classified at the highest levels." "Then find another species to scout for you," Sarah replied calmly. The Council members exchanged glances. They had no choice. "Very well," Zixathera said reluctantly. "Temporary access, but only for this crisis." Dr. Marcus Webb arrived at the Council station 12 hours later with a team of his best scientists. Sarah had briefed him on the situation, and he came prepared. "Show us the data," he said without pleasantries. For the next hour, Webb's team studied the Korthani records. The ancient machines were indeed impressive. They seemed to adapt to any technology used against them, learning and countering it within minutes. "Interesting," Webb said finally. "You understand their operation?" asked Veltar hopefully. "I understand the principles," Webb replied. "These machines use quantum consciousness interfaces to learn from whatever attacks them. They're not just defensive systems, they're learning systems." Kethvar activated his translation protocols in confusion. "Quantum consciousness interfaces? That technology is theoretical at best." Webb looked at Sarah. She nodded slightly. "Not for us," Webb said quietly. "We've been working with consciousness transfer technology for 2 years." The Council chamber fell silent. Several members made sounds of disbelief. "Impossible," Zixthera said. "That research is restricted. Humans don't have access to those archives." "We developed it independently," Webb explained. "We had to, working in radiation fields where biological minds can't function safely." Activated his own holographic display. The images showed human teams working in conditions that should have killed them instantly. Their consciousness safely transferred to quantum-protected environments while their bodies recovered. "You're saying humans have mastered consciousness transfer?" Tethnis asked. "Among other things," Webb replied. "When you send people to the most dangerous places in the galaxy, they either die or get very creative. Can you stop the machines?" Veltar asked desperately. Webb studied the data again. "Maybe, but not from a distance. We'd need to interface directly with their quantum consciousness networks." "That's suicide," Kethvar protested. "Direct interface with unknown quantum systems could destroy any mind that attempts it." "Any normal biological mind, yes," Webb agreed. But human consciousness can transfer through quantum states and return safely. We've been doing it for emergencies for months. 6 hours later, a human fleet emerged from quantum space near the Korthani homeworlds. The ancient machines immediately began their attack patterns, but something was different this time. The human ships didn't try to fight. Instead, they began broadcasting quantum consciousness signals directly into the machine network. To the watching Korthani, it looked like the humans were trying to communicate with the ancient systems. Dr. Janet Rodriguez, leading the consciousness transfer team, felt her awareness expand as it merged with the ancient network. For a moment, she experienced thoughts older than her species, memories of the builders who had created these guardians millions of years ago. The machines weren't attackers, they were protectors, activated by what they saw as an invasion of their sleeping territory. They had been programmed to defend the Korthani worlds from a threat that no longer existed. "We understand," Rodriguez transmitted through the quantum link. "We're not your enemy. The war you're fighting ended long ago." Slowly, carefully, the human consciousness transfer team began showing the ancient machines what the galaxy had become. They shared memories of the Council, of peaceful cooperation between species, of the Korthani as evolved descendants of the people the machines had been built to protect. One by one, the ancient guardians stopped their attacks. Their consciousness networks processed the new information, updating protocols that hadn't been changed in millions of years. Within hours, they began repairing the damage they had caused, restoring Korthani ships and infrastructure with technology beyond Council understanding. The crisis was over. In the Council chamber, 12 species watched in stunned silence as human teams completed their work. They had not only stopped the ancient machines but had somehow communicated with them, solved the core problem, and negotiated a peaceful resolution. "How?" Zixthera asked when Dr. Webb returned to brief them. "We listened," Webb replied simply. "The machines weren't evil. They were confused. They needed someone who could speak their language." "And humans can speak to quantum consciousness networks?" Kethvar asked. "We can now," Webb said, "along with several other capabilities you might find interesting." For the first time in galactic history, the Council began to wonder if they had made a mistake about humanity. But they still didn't understand how big that mistake really was. Word traveled fast in a galaxy connected by quantum communication networks. Within days of the Korthani crisis resolution, every species in Council space had heard the same incredible story. Humans had done what the galaxy's greatest minds could. Not Ambassador Sarah Chen noticed the change immediately. Alien diplomats who had barely acknowledged her existence for 3 years were suddenly requesting private meetings. Her message queue was filled with requests from species she'd never heard of. The first visitor surprised her. Counselor Yithara, of the Kulari, a species known for their advanced medical technology, arrived at the human embassy without announcement. Ambassador Chen, the tall, graceful being said through her translation device. "My people have watched your species with growing interest." Sarah gestured for her guest to sit in the specially designed chair they kept for visiting aliens. "How can humanity help the Kulari?" "We have a genetic plague affecting our outer colonies," Yithara explained. "A virus that adapts faster than our medical technology can counter it. Our finest bioengineers are baffled." Sarah leaned back in her chair. This was new territory. "Why come to us? The Council has access to the most advanced medical minds in the galaxy." "Because," Yithara said quietly, "your people seem to excel at solving problems others cannot, and because you work in radiation environments that would kill most species. We wonder if your biological adaptation technology might help." That afternoon, Dr. Rodriguez was on a transport to Kulari space with a team of human biotechnicians. 3 weeks later, they returned with a complete solution. The adaptive virus had been not just stopped, but converted into a beneficial symbiont. That actually improved Kulari immune systems. "How did they do it?" Counselor Zixthera demanded when she learned of the development. "They used the same consciousness transfer technology," reported her intelligence analyst. "But applied to cellular biology, they actually communicated with the virus at a quantum level and convinced it to change its behavior." Zixthera's crystal form flickered with concern. Consciousness transfer to biological entities? That should be impossible. Apparently not, for humans. More requests followed. The Thekmari needed help with mining equipment that kept failing in their high-gravity environments. Human engineers not only fixed the problem, but designed new systems that worked better than anything the Thekmari had ever imagined. The Veltrani had been trying to establish colonies near a neutron star for strategic reasons, but the radiation kept killing their settlement teams. Human colonists not only survived but thrived, building cities that actually harvested energy from the deadly radiation. Each success made the Council more nervous. Humans were supposed to be contained in remote areas, doing simple work. Instead, they were becoming the galaxy's go-to problem solvers. Dr. Marcus Webb was in his laboratory when the final straw broke. Ambassador Chen called with news that made his hands shake with anger. "They're doing what?" he asked. "New restrictions," Sarah repeated. "All human research must be approved by Council oversight committees. All human settlements must accept Council monitors, and they want to relocate our 3 largest colonies to designated supervision zones." On whose authority? Emergency session. Vote. They claim human technological development is proceeding too rapidly for galactic stability. Webb looked around his laboratory, filled with technologies that the Council couldn't even imagine. Quantum matter processors that could convert energy into any form of matter. Gravity manipulation systems that could move planets. Consciousness networks that spanned multiple dimensions. "There's more," Sarah continued. "Counselor Zixthera specifically mentioned your research. She wants all human consciousness transfer technology turned over to Council scientists for proper study and control. They want to steal our technology and then restrict us from using it," Webb said flatly. "That's how I read it too." Webb was quiet for a long moment. Then, "Sarah, do you remember what you told me when we first arrived? About proving ourselves?" "Of course. I think we've proved enough. Schedule a meeting with the full Council. It's time for humanity to make a counter-proposal." The emergency Council session was called for the following day. Sarah arrived with Dr. Webb and a small team of human scientists. The chamber was packed with representatives from all 12 founding species, along with observers from dozens of others. Counselor Zixthera called the session to order with obvious satisfaction. "The matter before us is simple," she announced. "Human technological development has exceeded safe parameters. For galactic stability, humanity must accept enhanced oversight and control." "The motion is reasonable," added Kethvar. "Advanced technology in inexperienced hands could threaten the entire galaxy." Veltar's energy form flickered agreement. "Humans have shown impressive adaptation, but adaptation without wisdom is dangerous." Sarah stood to address the Council. "Before you vote, humanity would like to present our own proposal." "You are not in a position to make proposals," Zixthera replied curtly. "You are here to accept our decision." "Actually," Sarah said calmly, "we're here to offer you a choice." She activated a holographic display that showed the true extent of human technological capabilities. Images of consciousness networks spanning light years. Matter conversion systems that could build entire space stations from quantum foam. Gravitational manipulation technology that could stabilize dying stars. The Council chamber fell silent as the implications became clear. "For 3 years," Sarah continued, "humanity has followed Council restrictions while quietly becoming the most technologically advanced species in the galaxy. We did this not through superiority, but through necessity. You sent us to dangerous places where we had to innovate or die." Dr. Webb stood beside her. "We solved your ancient machine crisis because we had developed quantum consciousness technology out of necessity. We cure diseases other species can't handle because we've learned to work at the cellular level. We can live where others die because we've mastered biological adaptation." "The choice," Sarah said, "is simple. Grant humanity full Council membership with equal representation and research freedom, or we will leave Council space entirely." The chamber erupted in sounds of disbelief and anger. Several Council members spoke at once. "Preposterous," Zixthera exclaimed. You cannot simply leave. You are bound by council membership agreements. Read the fine print, Webb said mildly. The agreements specify voluntary membership. Any species can withdraw at any time. You're bluffing, Kethvar accused. Humans need council support for survival. Sarah smiled sadly. Counselor, look around this chamber. How many of your recent crises were solved by human intervention? How many of your member species now depend on human-designed technology? You wouldn't dare, Veltar said, but his energy form was flickering with uncertainty. We would prefer not to, Sarah admitted. We came here hoping to be partners. But if the choice is between partnership and servitude, we choose freedom. And take our technology with us, Webb added, along with our solutions to problems you don't even know you have yet. Queen Mind Hixara spoke for the first time. What do you want? Equality, Sarah said simply. Equal representation in the Council. Equal access to galactic archives. Equal respect for our contributions. Impossible, Zixthera declared. The Council hierarchy is based on thousands of years of proven capability. Then we're done here, Sarah said. She and her team began gathering their equipment. Wait, called a new voice. Counselor Morgan of the Morden rarely spoke, but when he did, his words carried the weight of mountains. How long do we have to decide? Sarah paused at the chamber entrance. You have 72 hours to make your choice. After that, humanity begins evacuation procedures. As the human delegation left, the council chamber buzzed with worried conversation. For the first time in their ancient history, they faced a species that could simply walk away from everything they had built. And for the first time, they began to understand what they might lose. In his laboratory, Dr. Webb was already activating protocols that had been prepared for this moment. Across human space, hidden systems began powering up. Consciousness networks prepared for mass transfer. Matter conversion systems stood ready to disassemble entire installations. If the council wanted to play power games, they were about to learn what power really meant. The countdown had begun. The council's response came exactly 71 hours and 47 minutes after the ultimatum. Counselor Zixithara's message was brief and arrogant. The council rejects human demands. Military forces are being deployed to ensure compliance with existing agreements. Dr. Marcus Webb received the message while standing in the command center of humanity's largest research station. Around him, holographic displays showed the positions of council fleets moving toward human settlements across 3 sectors. They actually think they can force us to stay, said Dr. Rodriguez, shaking her head in disbelief. Let them come, Webb replied quietly. Initiate Exodus Protocol. All stations, all settlements. Time to show them what we've really learned. The first council fleet arrived at the Kepler radiation fields expecting to find human mining operations defenseless against military intervention. Instead, they found empty space where massive installations had existed for 3 years. Fleet Commander Tixuli of the Valeth stared at his sensors in confusion. Where are the stations? Unknown, Commander, his science officer replied. Sensors show no debris, no signs of destruction. The installations have simply vanished. Scan for cloaking technology. Negative. There's nothing here. It's as if the stations never existed. Similar reports came in from across the galaxy. Human settlements were disappearing faster than council forces could reach them. Not destroyed, not abandoned, simply gone, leaving behind empty space and confused council commanders. In the council chamber, emergency sessions ran continuously as reports flooded in. How is this possible? Kethvar demanded. Entire cities cannot simply disappear. Unless, said Tethnis thoughtfully, they were never entirely in our space-time to begin with. The truth was exactly that. 3 years of working in impossible conditions had led humanity to develop dimensional phase technology. Human settlements could exist partially outside normal space, anchored to reality but capable of shifting away when needed. As the council fleets searched empty systems, humanity's real exodus was taking place in dimensions the aliens couldn't even detect. Entire populations, along with their technology and knowledge, were moving through quantum space toward distant galaxies. But the real crisis began when the systems humanity had maintained started failing. The first sign was in the outer rim mining sectors. Without human-operated gravity manipulators, asteroid processing facilities began breaking down. Raw materials that fed the Council's industrial base stopped flowing. Production in the outer rim has dropped by 80%, reported an aide to Councillor Zixthera. The automated systems are failing without human maintenance. Use our own technicians, Zixthera ordered. We tried. The radiation levels kill our people within hours. Only humans could work in those conditions for extended periods. Worse news followed. The waste disposal systems near the burning stars had gone offline. Toxic materials were backing up throughout Council space with nowhere to go. The specialized stations humanity had built were automated, but only human consciousness transfer technology could safely maintain them. What about the deep space monitoring network? Asked Veltar. Gone dark, came the reply. All 17 stations in hostile sectors have stopped reporting. We have no early warning of potential threats from beyond Council space. Queen mined. Hixara buzzed with concern. The collective is detecting system failures across all critical infrastructure, food processing plants that required human bioadaptation technology, energy distribution networks that used human quantum management systems, climate control systems for hostile environment colonies. The scope of humanity's integration into galactic infrastructure became clear only as it disappeared. For 3 years, while the Council congratulated themselves on using human labor efficiently, humanity had quietly become essential to galactic civilization. Dr. Elena Vasquez, head of human engineering, had predicted this moment. From her command ship in interdimensional space, she watched Council space through quantum sensors as system after system failed. They never understood, she said to her staff. They thought we were just doing the jobs they didn't want. They didn't realize we were doing the jobs they couldn't do. The Corthani energy grid was the next major failure. The quantum stabilizers that kept their power network functioning had been designed by humans working with consciousness transfer technology. Without human technicians who could interface directly with quantum systems, the grid began collapsing. Veltar materialized in the Council chamber, his energy form dimmer than anyone had ever seen. My people are losing power across 7 core worlds, he reported. The stabilization network is failing. We estimate total grid collapse within days. Can your own engineers restore it? Asked Morgan. They don't understand how it works. The human technicians designed systems that interface with quantum consciousness states. Our technology isn't advanced enough. The irony was bitter. The species that had called humans primitive were discovering that human technology was beyond their understanding. But the final blow came from an unexpected source. The Kulari medical crisis had been solved so completely that their outer colonies now depended on human-designed biosymbiotic systems. When those systems began failing without human maintenance, genetic plagues started spreading again. The situation is critical, reported Councillor Yathara. Without the human bioadaptation technology, we're facing the same viral outbreaks that nearly destroyed our colonies. How many people? Asked Zixthera. 60 million in immediate danger, more if the plague spreads to core worlds. In interdimensional space, Ambassador Sarah Chen received reports from across the galaxy. The evacuation was proceeding perfectly. Humanity's portable technology allowed entire civilizations to relocate without leaving traces. But the cost to the galaxy they were leaving behind was higher than anyone had expected. Sarah, Dr. Webb called from his monitoring station. We're receiving communication requests from 17 different species, non-council members who worked with our people. What do they want? To come with us. They're asking if they can join the Exodus. Sarah looked at the list of species. All were smaller civilizations that the Council had marginalized. All had benefited from human assistance over the past 3 years. What do you think, Marcus? Webb considered carefully. We're heading for empty galaxies with unlimited potential. We could use diverse perspectives and skills, and they chose to work with us when the Council wouldn't. Approved. Send them dimensional. Transit coordinates. The Council's final desperate message came as their civilization began its visible collapse. Zixathara herself transmitted the plea, her crystal form flickering with what the translation system rendered as desperation. Humans, please reconsider. We can negotiate new terms. Equal representation, full access to archives, whatever you want. Sarah responded from humanity's flagship as it prepared to cross the interdimensional barrier to distant space. Counselor Zixathara, 3 years ago. We came to you as friends hoping to build something better together. You saw us as servants, to be controlled. When we proved we were more than that, you tried to steal our achievements and restrict our freedom. We made mistakes, Zixathara admitted. But abandoning the galaxy will help no one. We're not abandoning the galaxy, Sarah replied. We're leaving it in your capable hands. You built this civilization without us. Surely you can maintain it the same way. But the systems your people designed are gifts we leave behind. The way. Knowledge is in our archives, freely available to any species that wants to learn. Whether you can understand and use it is up to you. Sarah paused, looking out at the swirling interdimensional energies that would carry humanity to new galaxies. We're sharing one final gift, Counselor. Complete records of everything we discovered about consciousness transfer, quantum manipulation, bioadaptation, and dimensional technology. Everything we learned while serving in your most dangerous territories. Why? Because despite everything, we don't wish suffering on anyone. Use the knowledge wisely. Build better relationships with the species you've marginalized. Maybe one day in distant space we'll meet again as equals. The transmission ended. Humanity's ships engaged their interdimensional drives and slipped away from Council space forever, taking with them technologies and knowledge that could have revolutionized galactic civilization. In the Council chamber, 12 species sat in stunned silence as critical systems failed around them. Emergency power flickered, life support systems strained, communication networks struggled with overloads. They had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years, considering themselves the pinnacle of evolution and advancement. Now they realized they had been surpassed by a species they'd treated as janitors. Counselor, Tethanus spoke into the growing darkness. Perhaps we should have listened when they asked to be partners instead of waiting until they chose to leave. Outside the failing station, stars shone coldly on a galaxy that would never be the same. Somewhere in distant space, humanity was already building new worlds, working alongside species that had chosen freedom over the Council's ancient hierarchies. The Council could only watch the stars and wonder what wonders awaited in those distant galaxies, wonders they would never see because they had chosen control over cooperation, dominance over partnership.